Hi, in this lesson, we'll learn about if-else statements. In the previous lesson, we learned that if statements can be used to change the flow of our programs by controlling what is executed depending on certain conditions. In this case, if the Boolean expression is true, the code will be executed. We created a program to respond to users depending on whether or not they are the appropriate age to vote. However, this program could be written much more efficiently. The second if statement that we include in this program is actually unnecessary. This is because the first if statement tells us all we need to know about the variable age. If the first if statement evaluates to false, then there is no need to include a second if statement. We know that age is false, so testing it again is just an extra task we don't need. We can fix this problem by using else statements that correspond with our if statements. Else statements will execute code if the initial Boolean expression in the if statement evaluates to false. That way, we only need to create a singular if statement to evaluate whether or not something is true. This is the general skeleton for writing if-else statements. As you can see, the else statement follows the if statement and has its own set of curly brackets that will execute depending on the results of the Boolean expression. Rather than writing a separate if statement to evaluate if the age is lower than 18, as we had done initially, we can replace that with an else statement that will evaluate if the value of age is less than 18. Let's see this in action. When we input 11 into the console, the variable age now holds the value 11. In the next statement, the if statement is asking if the variable age is greater than or equal to 18. Since the value of age is not greater than or equal to 18, the condition is returned as false to the if statement. The program skips the code located within the if statement because the expression evaluated to false, and goes on to the next statement in the code, which in this case is an else statement. As a result, the code in the else statement is executed, and "sorry you can't vote" is displayed in the console. Let's try this with another value. When we input 18 into the console, the variable age now holds the value 18. In the next statement, the if statement is asking if the variable age is greater than or equal to 18. Since the value of age is greater than or equal to 18, the condition is returned as true to the if statement. The program then executes the code within the if statement. Then the program ends. Because the if statement was evaluated, the else statement does not get evaluated at all, and the program continues to whatever comes after the if-else statement. In the initial version of this program, our flowchart for understanding the sequence of events was fairly complicated. With if-else statements, we can see that the flow is much easier to understand, and follows a simpler logic. Depending on the results of the if statement, the program can branch in two different directions. By adding the else statement, we are removing additional execution steps that would otherwise be needed if we had two if statements back to back. Let's use what we just learned to create a new program. Let's imagine we are working on a restaurant app that needs to calculate the total cost of a bill. We've created a bill class that includes just a constructor and instance variables. Let's try to write an add tip method that calculates the cost of the bill with the included tip that the customers need to pay. If there are 8 customers or more, the bill will add 25%, and if not, the bill will add 20%. Try to brainstorm and write down the steps it would take to create this method using the constructor that we've already created. Pause the video until you've come up with a solution. Here are the steps that it might take to complete this problem. First, we need to create a method signature. Based on the information provided in the prompt, the method should be a void method that doesn't have any parameters, as we are just adding the tip to the existing cost of the bill. Next, we need to include the if statement. We want to know if the amount of customers eating on this bill was greater than or equal to 8, so we can write the statement total customers is greater than or equal to 8 to figure out if that condition is true. If the total customers is greater than 8, we need to add 25% to the existing bill. We can do that by multiplying the existing value by 1.25 or taking the existing cost of the bill and adding an additional 25% of that bill. Finally, we want to add the else statement. This means that if the total customers is less than 8, the cost of the meal will increase by 20%. we can add 20% by either multiplying the existing value of cost of meal by 1.2 or by adding 20% of cost of meal to cost of meal. Here's a look at the method add tip when diagrammed using a flowchart. Now that you've learned about if-else statements, let's get some practice using them in the editor.